Okay, in this video, we are going to walk through how to complete a petty cash reimbursement at the beginning of the following month. So we have here a question called FGH Enterprise, and this is a wholesale business. It says that the business uses a petty cash book with a monthly impress of $200. Impress means that at the beginning of every month, you need to reimburse the petty cashier that $200, right? Not more, not less. That's why it has to be unless otherwise stated. Now, it says the following transactions were handled by the petty cashier for the month of April. So if we look a little further down, we will see the transaction activity there for April. Now let's move on to the requirements. The first requirement asks us to rule up the petty cash book with the following analysis columns. So we have travel, vehicle, cleaning, telephone, ledger, and stationery. So these are our analysis columns that we have to include in our solution. Requirement B asks us to enter the month's transaction. So that's pretty straightforward. After we rule up everything, we will then enter the transactions and then complete C finally, which is enter the receipt of the necessary amount to restore the impress on May 1st, 2024. So that is the date for the beginning of the following month. So we're entering activity for April, then to reimburse our petty cashier with the amount needed to bring it back to $200 on May 1st, 2024. So let's see what that would look like. Now, remember, the petty cash book is like any other T account we have. We have a debit side and a credit side. The receipt side would be your debit side. That would show up any income coming in. And the credit side would be showing all your payments. Okay, so let's get this ruled up. We first start writing our column heading. So we have receipts, as I said before. We're not going to enter a folio column in this one. So we want to skip that onto the date column. Then we have our details. Payment. This is where we would enter all the payments based upon what we read. Our expenses, I should say. Now we will enter our analysis columns that they give us. We have travel, vehicle, cleaning, ledger, stationery, and postage. That one is pretty long, so I'm just going to shorten it. Good. So I believe we have everything there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I'm missing one. See again. Travel, vehicle, cleaning. Oh, telephone. That's what we're missing. Telephone. Right, ledger and stationery. Good. So we have it ruled up. Now we can go ahead and start completing the transactions by entering them into our petty cash book. So the first thing, again, we must remember is that because this is the impress system and they always start with $200 at the beginning of the month, we need to ensure that that's what we're starting with as well. So therefore, on April 1, we see here that we have a petty cash balance of $235. Right? So let's enter that first. And this was on April 1. Note that this is our balance brought down from March. All right. So we can't account for these expenses with only $2.35 to start with. So this is where the reimbursement comes into play. So again, on April 1, we're going to reimburse the petty cashier with the amount needed to bring us back to 200. So we take, I'm just going to enter formulas because I'm using the Excel sheet. But for you, you would do this on your calculator. We would say 200 minus $2.35, and that would give us $197.65. So that is the amount needed to give to the petty cashier to reimburse the float at the beginning of the month. So we're good to go, right? We have our $200. Now we can go ahead and enter the other expenses and our income. that occurred during the month of April. So let's see here. On the 3rd, we had taxi fare. Now, one thing I need you to remember is when you're entering these expenses on the payment side, you always enter the amount in the payment column and then you go over to the applicable analysis column and you enter the amount there again. And you'll see why at the end. So, taxi fare, that was $10.50. So, taxi fare will be considered a travel expense. So, we enter it in the travel column. On the 4th, which is the next day, we had purchases for cleaning supplies. We can just type the word cleaning, and that was for $12.43. Go over to the cleaning column and we enter that there as well. On the 5th, there was purchase of petrol for the van. This was $15. Go over to vehicle and we enter 15. On the 6th, we have an employee who reimbursed the petty cashier for personal telephone calls. So they made a personal telephone call that we paid for at some point, and that employee is now reimbursing us. So this is not an expense. This is money coming back into the business. So it would go over on the receipt side as income, and that amount was $5.55. So we put reimbursement to petty cashier. Good. Now, these blank spaces, you can use fillers. You can either use a dash or zero just so that you don't accidentally enter anything on those lines since you've used the line already. On to the next day, which is the 10th. We paid F. Lloyd, who is a creditor. So since we do not have any folio ledgers, I'm just going to write F. Lloyd and state in this detail column that yes, it is a creditor and we paid them $32.50. We go over to the ledger column and we enter that there as well. Okay. On the 15th, we paid the telephone bill. This was $45.14. Telephone column, $45.14. On the 22nd, we had another cleaning. Well, first one was cleaning supplies, but this one is an actual cleaning for $22.90. Just let me put up here cleaning supplies so we're clear, because there is a difference. But all of them will still go into the cleaning expense column, $22.90. On the 23rd, more bus fare was paid out. So bus fare in our payment column, which was $6. That's travel, so it goes there as well. On the 25th, we have a tire repair for the van. So tire repair, and because it was for the van, it would be a vehicle expense. This was $12.65. On the 28th, we purchased paper clips, staples, and whiteout. So that sounds like stationery. So we can just type that there. And that was for $13.67. We head over to that stationery column and we enter that amount there. On the 29th, we have purchase for pens. This is more stationery that was purchased. $8.40. And finally, on the 30th, we have stamps being bought, which is also going into the same column. This is 20. Oops, I forgot to enter it here in my payment column, so I just need to ensure that I do that. All right, so we have finally entered all the details And let's check over to make sure. Always check your work over to make sure that you've entered your details correctly. So let's run through this quickly. We have the 235 we started off with, and we've shown the reimbursement on the first here again. Now, when you're doing it on your paper or in your book, please ensure that you show your calculations for how you got out anything you had to calculate. On the third, again, we have a taxi fare for $10.50. That's here, and that's in our travel column. Purchase of cleaning materials, we have that here in the full for $12.43, and that's in our cleaning column. $15 on the fifth for petrol, we have that here and in our vehicle column as well. The reimbursement from the employee, we have that over here, 5.5. On the next one is the payments of the creditor for $32.50. We have that there, and also in the ledger column. Paid telephone bill for $45.14. Yes, we have that. Cleaning for $22.90. We have that as well, and also in that cleaning column. Paid bus fares for $6. We have it here in the payment and travel column. Paid for tire repair, $12.65. We have it here, and also in the vehicle column. The purchase of stationery on the 28th for $13.67. We have that here. Let's go across a bit, and we see it there in our payment column. Our analysis column for stationery. We also see the $8.40 in both places and the $20. So we do have everything based on the activity we went through for April. So it is at this stage that we start totaling our columns to see what we have, and then as it is a T account, we have to go through the process of balancing our T account. So let's start totaling. Let me just type here total payments. So we're going to total all columns to the right and the receipts column to our left. Everything there. Just copy the formula over. Good. Now, because you probably will be doing this under some type of exam condition or timing yourself, it is highly likely that a mistake will be made, which is why we take the time to go over everything once the time is available. When you are calculating or totaling your columns, you just double check by entering the total for each column in your calculator. You tally those up and you ensure that those amounts total what you see in the payment column. Now I'm getting $199.20 while this tells me $199.19, which means one of these is slightly off by 1 cent. Let's see which one it is. 20, 840, 1367, 1265. Oh, look, it's right here. So I have 45.14 in my payment and 45.15. It's just a simple typo. So if I had done that in my calculator, I would have seen that was entered incorrectly. So no, I just corrected it and everything matches up. So everything on our here in our payment column. So let's go over and see what the total is for our receipt side. So if we total everything over here, we get $205.55. So if total payments are $199.19 and receipts are $205.55, it means our balance carried down, our balancing figure has to be on the payment side. So our balance carried down would be the difference between the total of all the receipts minus the total payments. Let's do that quickly. You're summing everything in your receipts column, and we want to take from that our total payments, which is that. So $6.36, is our balance carried down. We can come over here. This is close. We're now just balancing both sides. All right, just let me add in my lines where necessary. So put some double lines here. I'm just going to add, just so it looks a bit tidier right here. Great. So, okay, good. So our question A is completed because we ruled up and we entered the analysis columns. We entered based on B the transactions for the month, and now we're on to C, where we have to reimburse or restore the petty cash to the $200 on May 1st, 2024. So let's do that. So we come at the bottom here and we would type May 1st. Our description should first be our balance brought down from April, and that was the $6.36. Okay, so that's our starting balance for May, and we're now going to show our reimbursement. To bring it back to the 200, be 200 minus $6.36. So our reimbursement on May 1 is $193.64. So I hope that this comprehensive question gave you a good idea of what needs to be done whenever you're completing a question where you have to reimburse that float at the beginning of the month. It's slightly different to what you do when you have to do it at month end, right? Because remember, with this one, we had to balance the books first and then bring that balance down before we did the reimbursement. Okay, whereas the other way, we whatever information we have, we would do